Okay, so first of all, very welcome to all of you. Very glad that all of you could join us today, and for this very important panel discussion that how women can resume career after maternity break. My name is Priyanka Sharma Juan, and I'll be moderating this panel discussion. Um, some technical aspects, as I already told you before, please all participants keep it on mute to preserve good quality of audio. And it's a freestyle panel discussion. That means you can ask questions anytime you want. So use a chat function for it. It's here. And you can write there, and Mayur and Sara will screen questions and they will forward it to me. Then please be clear with the question. Please state your name and the country you are currently based in so that we can know your situation a little better. And we can also direct to the panelists who are based in Europe or in the America. So, we are also recording the session and we'll be uploading it on Facebook later on. So I guess everything is very clear now. we can move forward. With that, I would like to introduce our panelists. So we have today Dr. Subhashini Muralidharan, who is a freelance consultant and a co-founder of Surul Softwares. She is currently based in the UK, and we'll know more about her story by her own words later on. We also have Dr. Archana Nagarajan. She is also freelance regulatory consultant and medical writer. She is currently based in Hamburg, Germany. We also have Dr. Armugam, or as he liked to be called, Raghunathan. He's a director of Control Manufacturing Mass Biologics in Boston. Then we have Dr. Abhinav Dey, who is a scientist at Microcures in New York. Our next panelist is Dr. Sajuti Sengupta. She's a scientist in molecular immunology field at Neon Therapeutics in Boston. And our last panelist is Dr. Eshita Moth. She's a bioinformatician at Sophia Genetics. Currently, she's located in Switzerland. So we'll know more about their story. Yes, Raghu.
My title is Contract Manufacturing, not Control Manufacturing. I'm not a control freak.
I think I just copy paste from your LinkedIn profile, but okay, contract manufacturing. So, today's agenda of this panel discussion is, first of all, we want to talk about what are the major obstacles women face during their job search after a maternity leave. And once we know that, what are the problems, and I think kind of we already have some idea, but we'd like to know about like our panelists, what was their story and what kind of obstacle they faced during their job search. We'll see that how women can plan better their job search if they're already they are planning or they are in a phase to plan their family. We would then go to talk about how those women who have already been through a maternity break can redirect their job search and how they can get back to a full-time job. As I already say that, we are always saying that it's a women's issue that they go through a maternity break, but I believe, and I think you all would agree, that it's not just a women's issue, it's a family issue when our women do not get back to a full-time job for various reasons. So that's why it's very important to know that how, as a family, how partners can play an active part to reboot their wives and partners' career. Then, and in the last, we will also discuss as how Stampiers community we can provide support. So let's start. And before I start, I would like to again mention that this is our first of all to have this kind of panel discussion. I would be happy to take your suggestion so that we can improve in the future. Again, you can ask questions anytime you want. You can just write in your chat and we'll take your questions. So let's start then. So I will stop my screen here and then let's go back. So So first thing is that what are the major obstacles women face when they have a break of 2 years, sometimes even 3 or 4 year break, and they find like a lot of difficulty. A lot of time it's just a confidence issues, or sometimes it can be that employers are reluctant to take them. So I would like to know from your experience that how did you find it? Did you find a lot of difficulties, or like what was your story? So maybe we can start with Subhashini. I mean, what would you like to say? You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. So maybe I'll just give you a short introduction, maybe like a side-by-side story of how my career and how I grew my family, and then maybe you can understand a bit more about where I come from. So I did my PhD in Germany, and shortly after I finished my PhD, I sort of decided I didn't want to stay in academia anymore. So along with my partner, I co-founded a startup. And we released our beta version, and 2 weeks later I had my baby. So that was it was a mad time, to say the very least. And I would not recommend that anybody do that. So what ended up happening was that I had two very steep learning curves happening at the same time. Transitioning into a non-academic role, learning a lot of new skills, and learning how to be a parent, all at the same time. And it turned out to be quite a stressful year. And the place that I lived in at that time in Germany, it was very residential, and there was intense competition for childcare. And we ended up not getting childcare. And we were on a huge wait list. And so we had to make some tough decisions at the time. And so what we decided to do was that we would stop doing our startup, and that my partner would get a regular 9-to-5 job. And I decided to take a break. It wasn't a full break. I was still doing some freelance work, and I continue to do it even today. And so the work that I did at that time was a very highly flexible, remote, zero travel kind of job. So it was great for me at the time. But what happened because of that was that my professional network has sort of stagnated over the years. I don't have a meaningful, I can't just pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm looking to shift into this job. Could you put me in touch with this person over there? It's quite difficult, because when you're continuously working, your entire professional network knows what you're doing, what you've been up to, what your successes are, what your failures are. They know exactly what your skills are at any given time. And when you've taken a break, you have to re-educate each and every person in your network what you've been doing. Are you upgrading your skills? Are you looking for jobs with travel? It's a big it's a big change. It's a bit of a barrier, I would say. And what also happens is, it doesn't happen to everyone, of course, but what happens is that you don't go into a physical office every day. You don't have that rapport with your colleagues. And so it also becomes difficult to do networking. Usually networking events happen right after work. At 5 o'clock, everybody goes out for a drink or something like this. And if you're on a break, if you're working remote from home, you don't have that. You have to make extra effort. You have to make sure your partner is going to be home at 5 o'clock, or that you have some kind of backup, and then you go to a networking event, which usually happens at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening. Mm-hmm. It's not compatible with having a very young baby.
But sorry to disturb you.
Sorry,
so
am I going on?
Apart from managing your personal life with your trying to get back on your feet, make your network and all, did you also try to apply for full-time jobs or something, or it was just not even possible because you didn't have the childcare possibilities?
Definitely. While I was in Germany, I did not have childcare. I had a nanny for a few months, and I did some part-time work during that time. But without the childcare, it really is a full-time job taking care of a child. And if you're trying to work from home with a child at home, I think now the whole world knows what that's like. But earlier, it was. It's really an understatement to say that it's the most challenging thing to do, working freelance at home while also taking care of a child. And so there's no time to upgrade your skills. There's no, learning MOOCs or anything. There's no okay, I'm going to sit and do 5 hours of webinar on Saturday, or none of that is going to happen at any reasonable level. So
what
the amount of
stage
time that you get to spend, sorry, go ahead.
No, so so like now what stage are you, like are you still like having your break, like still taking care of child? Of course it's a lifetime duty, but what I mean to say, like, do you think that now you can get back to a full-time job? It's more possible, or still?
Well, I had, so we moved to London a few months ago, and I got childcare pretty much immediately over here. So of course, this is a very location specific thing, this having childcare versus not having childcare. But so I had started looking for full-time jobs from January, which is when my child started going full-time to childcare. But unfortunately, COVID happened, and I have no idea where my job search going to go now, because I, again, don't have childcare now. We're again back to, I feel like the first 2 years of being a parent was all preparation for this lockdown, which is basically what I did that entire time, trying to work from home while doing childcare.
Okay. Thank you, Subhashini. Maybe we can move to Archana. She is also a freelance consultant, and maybe she can tell a little bit about her story.
Yeah, thank you, Priyanka. I did my PhD almost 10 years back in genetics from JNCSR in Bangalore. Then I moved to Europe for doing postdocs. And after 10 years of, not 10, I would say 7 years of postdocing and moving 4 countries, and now I'm in Germany, currently in Hamburg. And we have been here now since 4 years. And my story is a little similar to Subhashini's, but slightly each one of us has some individual traits there. So for me, I was not sure what I wanted to do. And while maybe this decision I might have taken while doing postdoc, but somehow at that time I believed that I wanted to be in academia. And once I took my parental leave, I was like, okay, do I really want to get back? Because it's been now 3 postdocs. Been doing postdoc after postdoc. What's the point in doing so many? And what's there for me next? And I was pretty sure that I didn't want to do postdoc anymore. Then about applying for different faculty positions, again, I wasn't very sure. I wanted to see what I have in choice as a industrial, in industry. And that's when I started to think about what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure. Thus, I think my career was in a limbo for 2 years because I was just making up my mind. And also, being in Germany, I had to learn German. There was no other way out of it. So I took 6 or 8 months to do that. So I completed 3 levels of doing learning German. So now I won't say I'm fluent, but I'm proficient enough to converse with people in German. And then I slowly started getting back to what I wanted to do and realized that I really enjoyed writing. And I paid attention to details while writing. So I said, okay, let's start writing. So that's how I started. And slowly I built up my network. Like how Subhashini says, it's a lone struggle. There is no, you have to put the effort. There is no other way out. So thankfully I had childcare. So when the child went to daycare, I could concentrate a little bit on upgrading my LinkedIn profile, getting in touch with other medical writers and things like that. And slowly things started picking up. And for me, the problem is there are not too many pharmaceutical or biotech companies in and around Hamburg. So I decided, let me start freelancing, even though people said that's not a great choice because you have no experience. But thankfully, it's been working out. It's not bad. Yeah.
So if I summarize, your major obstacles were that, first of all, there's just a confusion what to do, where to go if not in academia. Then also the language problem was another thing, and it could be with a lot of people who are in Germany or European countries. This always a major problem to learn the language. and then third.
Right.
But did you also try to apply full-time jobs? And did you find that some obstacle in that? Did ever employers ask you that, what's about this 4-year gap or 3-year gap?
Actually, nobody has asked me till now about the gap. So the gap has not been a problem at all. Maybe it's I don't know, it's a German thing or a European thing. It's pretty normal here for one of the parents to take time off and be with the children. So I have not been asked that question. But yes, the problem always has been the language. In spite of being a medical writer, which is essentially a work which is done in English, I still have to show my skills in German.
But I think that problem remains same for pretty much everybody. I think men or women. I think nobody can
true.
be
It
safe
has
from that.
nothing to do with. No, I didn't face any. I wouldn't say nobody asked. I don't know whether they discriminated, because I mean they cannot tell me that, right?
But they cannot ask as well.
me as well. No, they cannot ask as well. So I have never been asked. And most of the time I have been interviewed by women, and they themselves have told me that they took time off as well. So
that's a good thing,
been...
I think, already to know that at least people don't give so much attention to this, that if you have 2-year or 3-year gap. Because I remember talking to a friend and she was like, but this is my problem that I took 3-year break, this is why employer would understand this. So I think this is one important point for all of you who are listening us, that it's okay, I guess. Maybe we can hear more from Sajuti.
Hi everyone. Sorry. It was really nice to hear your experiences. I think Archana and Subhashini, one thing I was thinking was I guess a lot of us now need to pick up skills to do freelance work at home. So I think it'll be really nice to hear a little bit more about your search in that aspect. Just introducing myself, I think my experience has been a pretty traditional one. So I moved to Boston for my master's first, and then I did my PhD in biomedical sciences. So after that, my PI wanted me to stay for about 6 months while we were wrapping up this paper. And we thought that was good time for us to have a baby. So we started planning a family around pretty much my time of graduating my PhD. So I think that experience worked out really well for me because I knew that I was in a situation where, I was comfortable with the lab environment. My PI was really understanding. So having that support network while, going through the pregnancy and then having the baby actually worked out really well for me. So what I would say challenging was, I was also doing a job search at the same time. In US, in academia, usually the job search can be a long way if you know exactly what you want. So the route that I took was, I knew the field that I wanted to go was relatively narrow. So I started talking to people in my school, professors, other people that I knew, and taking recommendations of labs. Also included STEM peers, people who have already been working in different labs. So not just PIs, my peers who are already working in different labs. So I set up informational meetings as well, went to conferences and networked, and then basically narrowed my job search to a few labs. So what I was effectively doing was also checking the work-life balance. I think in US, especially, I was also in the Harvard group of labs, that people work really crazy hours and PIs have pretty crazy expectations from you. I knew I was going to be a new mom. I need the work-life balance in my life. So that was one of the things I already took into consideration during my job search. So I guess with that same mindset, I thought I wanted to interview when I was pregnant. I did not want to wait till I had the baby and then interview, as some of us suggested that there might be a bias if you're interviewing while you're pregnant. But I guess the way I took it was that if that person is not okay with me being pregnant, I'll definitely have problems in that lab later. So yeah, and I'll be happy to speak about a few biases that I had faced, but really how you can work around it. So after that, I basically got a job, defended my thesis when my baby was 4.5 and and really the way I could do that, 4.5 months, sorry. And the way I could do that was support of my family. So we had childcare. We were fortunate to have that, and my partner was really supportive. My parents came in towards the end, towards the convocation. So I also got a couple months break right after that to spend with the baby revising, and then break before I joined my postdoc. So I think I really appreciated those moments of, being able to stay home with him and still having a backup of a job to get back to. Um,
Yeah,
did you
so
have a question?
no, it's okay. You can complete and then I'll say.
Okay, so I guess I have a long kind of story because that was my first kid, and now, so after academia, I had transitioned to industry job, and then I just had another baby who's 3 months now. So that process has also been interesting. And again, happy to speak about biases. My company has been really child friendly. But still, when your company is going through a massive restructuring, you keep thinking, what are the ways that this decision was influenced and could you have avoided it? But saying that, so we had a massive restructuring and half of our company was laid off. So I was part of the layoff 1 month before having the baby. So that was again bad timing, and everybody bad timing to really look for a job. And of course, now the timing is worse. But I think fortunately what I did was I did not wait to find another job again. My last interview was scheduled on the day I had the baby. And then right after having the baby, I think my first interview was after 2 weeks. So I think I went through that. Yeah. Again, thanks to the help and support of my partners, my parents. But I went through that. I was able to screen some offers, and then I did accept a job offer, and going through maternity right now to waiting to start. And it was a difficult decision also negotiating these things with my older company. I really worked with them to make sure that, I have a package which covers my maternity. I thought I deserved that after the work that I did with the company and, talking to the HRs, talking through immigration procedures. It's not been easy, but I guess what I would say that it's possible with planning.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. I mean, as you're saying, there are always some biases, there are always some obstacles, but if you plan everything in advance, that could also ease. And then, of course, you need childcare support. You also need support of your family and partner. I think that's very crucial. But I think planning is a very big factor in your success, as I can see.
Yeah. And I would also say that, not get bogged down by biases. Because, so for example, in my postdoc lab, I think the first question my PI, and I ended up going to that lab really, my PI had was, oh, when are you due? And then, I guess, Archana, there might be a difference here between the US and EU. I was thinking about your experience. So, so I was really forthright with that, but then in the end, when it came to the decision, he was also like, yeah, let's see how it goes after you have the baby. So people always have this thought at the back of your mind, are you going to get back to work? Are you going to be committed after having the baby? So I made sure I kept in touch with him Right after having the baby, I think 1 month after, I went and met up with him again. We discussed basically about possible projects we can do. And till then, I did not have an offer. And I kept interviewing as well. So while I was interviewing, I got another couple of offers. So I went back and told him, look, I'm going to decide now. I have these two offers that I'm really thinking in between. So what do you think? And I think that's when he was pretty convinced after talking to me again that, this person is convinced to do good work. So I think it is about taking that extra step, being in touch and trying to address some of their concerns as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also, like when you're in an industry, when you're trying to prepare for maternity break, so I always have really bad morning sickness. So I have to tell my supervisor, like in the first 1 month, I'm pregnant. So that has also happened. Usually people wait for a little longer to tell. So I have wondered if, because I have had to let them know and people have been really understanding, like they've told me, yes, that is totally fine. It's a medical reason. And then I have been able to adjust my workload accordingly. But people already try to arrange for, cover your maternity break. And then you really have to work with your teammates to make sure that you have a smooth transition. And then your teammates being insecure about how to deal with that part of the project. Is that going to be my project or is this going to be your project? And I have been in that situation myself, covering for others' maternity leave project. And we have tried to make sure with proper communication that we have had a good transition, both before and after the maternity break, and have that discussion who is really planning the project and how will the basically transition play over.
Yeah, thank you, Sajuti. I mean, we will come back to you and to know more about like how we can plan better things when you are in this situation. Maybe I'll move to Ashita, and she can tell a little bit about herself and how was her job search and what kind of obstacles she had or didn't have any.
Hello everybody. So for me, it was, I think, a mixture of what everybody said already, and but it was so for me they were both two different times. So I was in academia doing my postdoc in Switzerland when I had my baby, and at that time it was, I mean, during the maternity break also, I was kind of working on one paper. So you know how it is during the end of your postdoc, it's always a pressure to publish. So I think after the break, for me, one of the major obstacles was the need to become highly flexible in the role of being a scientist and that of being a mother. So being highly organized, having a time management very, very much, because I used to have a big commute. So before the baby, I never even thought about the big commute. So I had to commute like 3 hours per day. But I didn't bother before that. But like, after having the baby, I realized, okay, so now this time I have to utilize it, and like, how to plan even the travel time into the work time. So those things I had to learn while, like, after the break. So after the break, these were some of the things. But yes, I mean, as Archana also mentioned, I was also in a similar phase that after the maternity break, I was still in this dilemma of in academia or in industry. I was more inclined to industry, but there were still some projects to be finished and the time was not right yet for me. So I started networking, and then after a year and a half was when I started seriously applying for jobs. So I'm not sure how is it in other parts of the world, but here I was definitely cautioned to not mention having a child in my CV. So people were a bit like, okay, maybe you don't mention that you have a child already or something, but frankly speaking, in my experience, with all the phone interviews I had or all the on-site interviews I had, so when I talked to them, they were very open about it. And I mean, they didn't hesitate about it, that okay, so you have a child or something. But this is also true that I was always very clear that my partner also would take his share of the child care. So it is only not me who will be taking care of the child during sick days or something. So I had to make it very clear to them, like, yes, even though I have a child, I would be would be able to work under pressure, and all these things. So I mean, that is in short the summary that I have, but feel free
We'll
to
come
ask
back
me
to it.
questions.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
sure.
much, Ashita. Yeah, I mean, you did a great job, like right away getting a data scientist position. So that was very impressive. We'll come back to you in
Sure.
our later questions. That how did you plan it in a way that that worked for you? Maybe I move to Raghu, and Raghu can also tell us a little bit about how he supported his wife, or like, you know, how his wife did it. Because when I was talking to Raghu, I mean, I find very impressive that both Raghu and his wife actually did very well all these years, and kind of really managed very well to have great career with great family.
Well, yeah, I'm impressed. No, thank you. When I had my first baby, no, my so it was challenging, right? Like everybody else said. Um, so I picked up on a few things that each person said, and the thing that stood out for me was Sujuti mentioning how she went through all of that, and a couple of things that stood out is you have to be a superwoman. There's no choice left, right? You have to be a superwoman, and I admire my wife for that. And I'm going to do a disclaimer. This is going to be a big billboard advertisement for my wife, okay? Because I admire her so much for everything she's achieved. And you have to be a superwoman. You have to have a positive attitude, and you have to plan. Definitely three things, right? So she did that very, very carefully and very well. And she is very technical, very analytical, and critical of things, right? So that helped her prepare very well. So to quickly summarize how her transition happened, you know, she just like I think Ishita, she had her baby when she was doing her not Ishita, I think Sujiti, while having doing her PhD. 3 years into PhD, she had her first baby. We had our first baby. And that's a nice thing, because while you are in the middle of your career, it's nice because you already made friends on one side, and then you have your baby and you're all used to the system, and there's no, bias coming into play. But we had to jump into it because you don't want to get too old later in your career to have a baby and start your life fresh. When you're young, you have the energy, you have the positive vibes going. You have to start your family first. That's definitely important. You can't wait for your career to blossom and then have a baby. Biology dictates otherwise, right? um, at heart, everybody wants to be a feminist. I want to be a feminist. I am very supportive of my wife. But when you go out in the real world, there's problems, right? That happened with the second baby when she was postdocing. And you think, women are more supportive. She had a woman PI. And as soon as she said she was pregnant and she had to reveal it, like one of you earlier panel members said, you were feeling sick, morning sickness. Oh, this one was 100 times worse than morning sickness. She would start in the morning throwing up, go to bed throwing up, pretty much, right? So she had to tell her boss that she had the sickness. And within a week, she came up with an excuse to send her home. Pretty much let her go, right? So we didn't want to take any legal action or anything. So we just said, okay, that's what it is. And she started looking at other options. She went into another postdoc lab. Few months into it, there was a family tragedy. Her father had a stroke and she had to pitch in, right? Her parents were in India. and her dad was fully paralyzed, and so she had to go and help. So she made one of the toughest decisions a woman can make just when your career is taking off. She said, I had to take a break. She had two babies, right? One was 7 and one was 1 year old. She took a break, and then she said, I need something where I can manage going to India for 3 days, 3 months, help my mom and help my dad. And the rest of the time I'll spend with the kids at school and stuff like that. So she took a break from work, and every summer she would go with the kids to India, stay with her mom, take care of her parents, and then the rest of the month she'd come back to US. And this was the time when I had to do my career transition as well, right? So I had just finished postdocing. I got my first biotech job, and then and I was on the verge of getting laid off. The option was, I had to interview other places or move to California from Connecticut. So it was cross country. So at that point, I'm one of those guys who looks at positives of everything. I said, oh, you don't have a job, so it's easy for us to move. Let's move. Right? So we moved to the West Coast. So things were happening in parallel for both of us. Both of our careers were taking off at the same time. But I think the bottom line there was being flexible, taking it on with courage and trying to plan it a little bit. So what she did was, she said, what can I do for 6 months in a year or 9 months in a year? And the best thing was teaching, right? Because summer coincides with. So she started teaching online in Arizona, University of Arizona, University of Phoenix. You could teach online, and she started doing that. And in the evening, she would go to evening college in California and teach there. So she wanted to stay in touch with science. She wanted to brush up skills. She wanted to add skills. So she did that on the side. Then come summer, she'd pack up and go to India, help there, be there for 3 months, come back after 3 months, jump right back. And when she was in India, the nice thing with online teaching was she could do it from there too, right? She'd take breaks and she would teach classes from there. So she was kind of masterminding the whole thing, right? She was getting ready. What do I do? How do I do? And her father's situation was getting worse, and she knew there was going to be an end to this. And by then we started planning how she would transition from there, right? So by the time she came back from India after an unfortunate event with her dad, so we had already planned some interviews and stuff here in Boston. By then I had already changed 2 jobs, right? And then, so she came in and she took a temporary job in a company, biotech company, just to get her foot in the door, right? And then she got her foot in the door, and then she impressed them. That's where the hard work comes in, right? Hard work and keeping positive attitude and being that superwoman. You go in ready to fight, ready to take on challenge. Whether you like it or not, people expect women to work harder, to prove yourself harder, or in your mind you're trying to do that, right?
Yeah.
And she would consciously do that, and she'd come back to me and we would have these discussions. And I would say, even if you work half as hard as you're working, you'd be working twice as hard as the others in your lab, right?
Mhm.
That's how hard she'd be working. But she did it, and as you can see from her resume, I would definitely recommend going through her LinkedIn profile, see how she's gone up, and she made a fantastic jump. And I asked her this morning, so what should I tell the people listening to me about me? How did I support? Did I do anything at all? And she said, no, you were a good partner, knowing when to support, how to support, being there when needed, like one of you said, childcare for the kid when you're not able to come back because your boss asked you to do something extra. Somebody has to be there. And there are times when I had to step back and not go for a higher position because I want to be there. I don't want to take on additional responsibilities, so I can't be there for the kid at home. So there's time when I used to travel a lot, then she was taking care of the kids, right? So you have to take turns and give and take, and that's family. You have to have an understanding partner. So I'll stop with that.
Yeah, totally agree. And thank you so much, Raghu, for sharing. I mean, I really like that how your wife did so many jobs, either it was evening, like teaching classes or online teaching classes or temporary jobs, just to have that experience and to learn some new skills. And it was never that ego thing like, no, I've been a postdoc, I've been a PhD, I know so much and I should have a really perfect job. I think sometimes
Yeah.
we really have to take a step back and really think, okay, it's fine. Our family matters a lot as well, so it's okay. Whatever works, start with little, and with that
Yeah.
little, you can reach to a very higher position. I mean, your wife is currently, if I'm not wrong, she's a VP at a startup, right?
It's a little more than a startup. It's a mid-sized company. She's a VP of platform science operations. It's a pharma company. They have a few drugs in the pipeline.
Which is
Yeah.
so great,
And
right?
time will come for you to step up and do it. So like you
Yeah.
said, it's
Mm.
okay to take a step back and get in.
Yeah,
Once you
yeah,
get your foot in the door, you can
yeah.
always prove yourself and jump up.
Absolutely. I mean, this is very encouraging, I think, for all of us. Okay, before I move to Abhinav, I think I would like to say, as we are not too many people, you can start if you want to have your video on. We are having this discussion recorded, so if you don't want, as you wish. I mean, it's really on you. Um, and also, Nibad, wait a minute. We have two questions from Nebenita and Tanvi. I'm going to ask maybe after I talk to Abhinav. So just wait for it. So maybe in the last, I can ask Abhinav, how was your experience having a child, and like how your wife dealt with this and how you dealt with the whole situation? Because I guess sometimes it's very frustrating. I can see like, you know, sometimes my husband gets very frustrated. Like, why are you so crying about it all the time, not having a job? And I think a lot of time we get frustrated about it. So how did you deal with this?
Okay, I think it's very hard to follow Raghu, first of all, if he has spoken before you. But yeah, since I am his disciple, so I don't mind following him at all. I take tips from both Raghu and Purnima, having met them personally. I do learn a lot from them. And of course, I've been hearing the stories of Subhashini, how she is looking to re-educate her network, and she realizes the challenge. And I am pretty sure her spouse will be also realizing that how important it is to help your spouse re-educate the network about what she is doing. So yeah, so this is one of the points that I loved about Subhashini. And then Archana made a very important point about learning the local language. In US, we don't realize that, because when we move from India, which is a very highly English speaking country, we find it as an easier transition, although the accent can still be a bias factor here. But learning a local language in Europe is a major thing to do. So one of the tips that if you are listening, you should take in mind that if you are on a break, on a career break, try to learn the local language. That is something that you can put on your headphones and keep those online programs on and practice the local language. But like Sejuti, she brought out a very important point. It is not just the spouse, it is also the colleagues at work, like how you watch each other's back when your colleague is on a maternity break or needs support at that point of time. And like Ishita said, that planning with your partner is a very important aspect of your job. Once you have had a kid and you are heading into a new job, or even continuing with your current job, things change. So you should have a proper plan in place. And like Raghu said, having the positive outlook matters, because stress, no matter how much you plan, stress takes a toll on you. So you have to have a positive attitude to see through the silver lining in every cloud. So whenever you are doing that, try to make sure don't lose your focus because of something that went wrong. Try to see the things in a big picture, see how that misstep or something unfortunate that happened appears in the bigger picture, not just in the apparent picture. So these are some of the very good take-home points that all the speakers right now mentioned. Regarding my story, I like to plan a lot. Definitely, that's a part of my personality. But 99% of the time, the plans fail. So, so regarding the childbirth and how me and my wife managed it. Uh, I did my PhD from IISc Bangalore in 2010, and after that, the first thing was to get a postdoc and move west, because I fortunately or unfortunately was not very much aware of many career options back then other than doing a postdoc and heading for a faculty job. So that's what I did. We moved to US, and in fact my wife moved first. I moved to US 6 months later because I was waiting for my defense. So she was the first, she was the champion who laid the ground of me moving to US. So definitely that was a big adjustment that had to happen, because we were staying apart in two time zones, and managing everything, finishing my thesis, and her setting the whole thing up in US, and her work on her own was another challenge that she had to face, because there were cultural differences. She had to adjust to the way things work in US, and of course that was helping me as well, because I was learning how a postdoc lab works, and how the expectations change, and how much do you have to figure out what you need to do as a postdoc. So that was my first education that I got from her, as compared to generally what happens is that both move together, or both the husband and wife move together, and then they plan it out. So once I moved, she helped me find a lab for my postdoc, because that time 2010 we were just post recession, and it was very difficult to find a postdoc job back then. And then we, of course, you always keep on planning, and we were in the middle of our postdocs. Everything was going fine. We planned our baby, and 7 months into her pregnancy, her lab was moving. And moving where? Not to anywhere close. It was right from one city to the other, and everything was going to change because her lab had got a good funding, and the PI wanted to move to a good university. So I was in the middle of my first postdoc, and things were going nicely. There was nothing to complain about, and it was that was the time to take a call for me as a supportive person as well. And she needed that, because she was in 7 months into it, and so it was fortunate that her boss offered me a position as well, because I had the right background to be a postdoc in their lab. And I joined. We moved across the city, packed up everything, and within 2 months we had our child. And it was a tough experience, because we were trying to manage a new postdoc. First of all, you're starting off in a new university, and mine was the first month in this new postdoc. So there was, of course, performance pressure. You have to manage everything, and then you have to be supportive. She was on a maternity break at that point of time, and we were able to coordinate very well, because we were in the same lab per se. So that was a good thing. So we used to time divide our childcare responsibilities after she went back to work. And of course, since we were in the same lab, I could finish some of her experiments. And when I went back and to take care of the kid, she was able to go back to lab and do the job, or maybe some of the experiments that I had left behind, she can complete it. So there was this understanding that we could build up upon our research, and it worked pretty well. We had that good understanding to manage the projects for the PI, because we were the only two postdocs in her lab at that point of time. And we were not only entrusted with doing the experiments, we were also expected to write grants to support our own salary. So, and fortunately, within the first year, we could generate enough data to successfully win grants, postdoctoral fellowships after that. So it was absolutely a lot of discussions that used to happen even while handling the kid and discussing the data. So we were like having a 24-hour lab discussions even when we are doing our childcare. So that was something that I am thankful for, because I had that time to discuss with her and help her as well as help myself. So therein I got a good experience about how to handle the career responsibilities at that point of time. But coming to that, it always happens that your professional network gets busted when you are into childcare and academia. Seriously, it's when our child grew to be slightly independent, like around 2 to 3 years old, we started rethinking that, okay, what do we need to do about our careers? Because what are we supposed to head into academia and both be in academia, or do we want to do something else? Because simply at that point of time, I think that was the time when we were planning, not planning actually, we were wondering what to do with our careers. Like 3 more years, our postdocs will be 5-year-old and we will have to think of something else. So fortunately, at that point of time, Ananda and I started having these discussions over a Facebook group that was created in 2015 that you call STEM Peers Today. So we were constantly sharing these articles in that small group of 100 people that came about together in 2015 of July, and we kept on discussing our problems. Of course, it is first of all you try to save yourself and then see what has to be done. And Ananda was going through a rough patch in his career at that point in time, and we were constantly discussing what are the career options available. And I was kind of 3 years behind him in that phase. So although I could provide him with whatever psychological and support I could provide, but at the same time, it was an awakening time for me as well. And that translated to, of course, thinking about what will my spouse do when she is in that situation, because both of us are in the same boat in a way. So that time, there were a lot of ideas that generated to get going and get people reskilled. A lot of us have no visibility when we are doing our postdoc, and nobody beyond our PI or our close lab meeting network knows us. So that's when we started creating these platforms in CSG, the career support group that we know. And those were the times when we were discussing, okay, let's start something to showcase the skills of scientific writing of our peers. So that's how Club Sci-Ri came into being, and we started sharing stories. My main purpose was to share stories, so I taught myself with the how to set up a blogging website, and I started using my editorial skills to keep on publishing stories from the network of CSG. And from there, I got a tremendous help, because my wife although she was busy, she did help me editing a lot of stories that I was trying to write and present this. And that's how Club Sci-Ri became a good brand to showcase the writing skills of a lot of people. Because when we opened the platforms asking that, can you share your story? If you want to write something about any topic, whether it is an interview or whether it is about anything scientific or any discovery that you read or a paper that you wanted to talk about. So people used to write, and that needed a good amount of editing. And so both me and my wife were very instrumental in handling those editing procedures for Sci-Ri. And that was giving a lot of visibility to these writers, as well as sharpening our skills, because it increased our visibility in the network of CSG, at least, if not on LinkedIn. So with that, things progressed, and every year we kept on developing these initiatives, which were not just focused for anybody on a maternity break, but these were all well planned so that anybody on a break can sharpen these skills and use them. With time, we were successful in generating some funding that we could give back to the community. And last year, I would like to mention that the STEM Peers Fellowships came around, and there was one section of fellowship which we included was childcare fellowships. We know that a lot of women on maternity break need to re-network, reconnect. So these childcare fellowships were designed to help provide financial support for childcare, so that you can use that money for offsetting your childcare cost and attend some conferences that you want. So with that, I would like to end. I know I've spoken a lot, but I hope people make use of these fellowships that STEM Peers has to offer. And these are not restricted to childcare. If you want to take up a course, please let us know. We will try our best to fund you for those online courses, because I know today the world changed in within a month, and we don't even know whether face-to-face conferences will ever happen in the next 1 year. But if you are using this time on a break, then think about these online courses with a lot of our panelists will have mentioned, and reskill yourselves, and we are here to support you in that attempt. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Abhinav. So that was a lot of information. Just to break down, so first of all, I think what I really liked about the story that your wife moved first and then you moved. And then you really supported each other, not just like, at home, but also in the lab, like finishing each other's experiments. And I think, okay, it's not everybody's situation that, both husband and wife are working in the same lab, but I think we can still support in many ways. Like, if we are in the same field, we can help in editing or like, doing presentation. There are a lot of ways to support, I think, your spouse, and I think you really presented a very good example of it. And then you already actually gave a very good overview of what STEM Peer as a community can do to support all the women who are going through this maternity break or who are planning to do it. And I think there are a lot of initiatives, so we can always we can wrap up it again in the end. So what are the initiatives? Maybe Mayur or Abhinav can again tell in quickly. But the thing is, like, you just need to plan. You just need to be very positive about things, and you need to plan in advance that what are the things we can achieve in a maternity break or pregnancy break, and not to be too hard on yourself also, because as you can see from all the stories, not every pregnancy is same and not every child is same. So your challenges are always different, your family is different, your location is different, so everybody has a very unique situation, so you're going to have very unique challenges. And maybe making some realistic goals is always going to be nice, because not just, oh, I'm going to achieve these 10 big things, or maybe I'll do the whole MBA in this 9 months. That's not going to happen. Maybe it can. Maybe if you're a superwoman, you can do it. But making realistic goals would be nice. I think that's can really help. And STEM peers, as already Abhinav said, like according to your interests, you can choose whether it's a writing club or consulting club, or there are a lot of different opportunities there.
Yeah, I agree, Priyanka. The thing you said about realistic goals is very important. I asked my wife before jumping on here. I said, "Were you being ambitious at all?" She said, "It's tough to be ambitious when you're starting up your career, but you want to guide it while you're doing it, while you're working in a job. You can try to guide it towards where you want to go, but sometimes you have to start where you get an opportunity. You can't be very ambitious in the beginning." So I think that's a good point that you made. And I wanted to say something to Abhi's comment on how you are both of you in the same lab talking science with the kid doing daycare together, right? I don't think it's a bad thing, because we did the same thing. My Purnima's PhD in neuroscience, my PhD was in neuroscience. Kids grew up around that, and guess what my daughter became when she grew up? She's doing neuroscience.
Oh, wow.
she did her bachelor's in neuroscience. Now she's doing stem cell research at Harvard. So yeah, even though you don't want them to do the exact same thing you do, they end up there. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah. So as we are not so many people, I would say maybe people can ask their questions directly. So maybe first question, if we take from Sumita. Sumita, can you please unmute yourself, and maybe you would like to ask yourself?
Hey, this is Sumita from Netherlands. My first question is for Subhashini, the first person who spoke. She spoke about she did some freelancing jobs in Europe, but she did not talk about what it was and how she ended up getting that during the pregnancy. So my first question was, what was those freelancing jobs and how did she?
So what happened was that, of course, I wanted a zero travel kind of job. So I started out with some science editing kind of jobs, which are you can do it anywhere when you have an internet connection. So I joined a communications agency as a freelancer. And at the same time, I set up various online profiles on freelancing websites. And I was lucky enough to get a very nice project with a nonprofit based out of Berkeley. They were looking for a plant scientist, and that was my specialty. And so I did a consulting job for them. And then, so this was on a website called Collabtree. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Collabtree, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got it through there.
Okay.
But I also set up freelancing accounts on like various websites.
Okay.
At the time, it was really difficult for me to go out and in person do networking. So I relied mainly on, online websites and reaching out to people who had interesting projects and seeing if there was a good fit there.
Okay.
That was really what I did. If you want to chat more about it, you can add me on Facebook or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I would ask more questions. Thank you.
Feel free. Thanks.
Thanks, Sumita. Navanita, would you like to unmute yourself and just ask question? That would be great.
Hello. Hi, I'm Navanita. I think Mayur can recognize me. We were together in TIFR. So I did my PhD from TIFR about 10, 11 years back. Then, okay, there's a long gap in between. I did a postdoc from Boston University. Then I moved to Kuwait for a family reason. So right now I'm looking for the kind of thing what Avinav is doing, and he has already done. So I am kind of good in illustration, and writing is also not that bad. So can I connect myself with some people so that I can and do some, if some course necessary I can do in between so that I can improve myself. So if anyone can help me like that.
Maybe Abhinav would like to answer.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Navanita. There are many courses available. Back then, we were not so much well aware. But if you are interested in publishing careers like in Nature and Cell Press kind of things, you can take up these. And Nature Masterclass is a resource that you can use. It has, if you go online and search for Nature Masterclass, they have these sessions which you can attend. Apart from that, there are many universities that offer science writing courses. Basically, a lot of the time, I'll tell you why people don't take this up, because a lot of us feel that, oh, we have written scientific papers, we have presented posters, we know how to write science. Why do I need to present science, or why do I need to take a course about writing science? Well, it is not like that. Writing a paper, you are trying to convince 3 reviewers or 2 reviewers at a journal, and at the most, after your paper gets accepted, you will have an audience of maybe 100 people who might cite your paper after reading it if they need it. Otherwise, that's it. Nobody is interested in most of the case. Of course, if you write a Nature paper, then it's a different case, but then even the Nature paper is not read by everybody across the world. So when you're writing scientific articles, which are meant for the general public, you need to tone down the language of science. I shouldn't use the word tone down. I would use the word non-technical, or try to modify the language so that it understands, so that your audience understands. So you know that your scientific article will be read by somebody who is a PhD or an MS, or maybe a teacher at a school who knows what is happening. But then the job of the teacher in a school is to translate that heavy paper into a very simple language to her students, right? His or her students. So that is where the communication aspect of scientific writing comes in. You really have to break the story down into very simple pieces and communicate it in maybe 500 words. You won't have 4,000 words of a journal article to convey your idea. You just have to limit your communication in a very precise manner. But this thing does not come naturally to a lot of scientists. I'm talking with my personal experience of running SciRai, and I know that I used to get articles that had huge jargons, and even my team of editors who came after me, they always tell us that these guys who are writing to us have such a huge history of writing great papers, but when it comes to writing a simple story of 500 words, they really don't know what to exclude and what to include. So these are the reasons I believe that taking these courses are important, and you are at the right place. I know that you might be finding, some of you might be finding that why am I going back in history, but since this is getting recorded, I wanted to get this message out that taking writing classes is not something that is unusual. It is very important. You need to know before you enter into those careers, writing is important. And I will actually cite an advice from one of my colleagues in Stampiers. I spoke to her day before yesterday, saying that I'll be appearing in this panel discussion, and what should I tell them? So she is a Stampiers fellow. Her name is Dolon Chapa. She mentioned that if you want to give them one common advice, tell them writing is important across the board. Whether you are a science writer, or whether you are a CEO, or whether you are a marketer or a salesperson, you should know how to write. If you are getting into any kind of careers, you should know how to write and send the message in the very perfect manner. A lot of people think they are great in English, but they are not. Because when it comes to these professional communications, writing is something that is very important. So I take her words. Yeah, Raghu will
100%.
also endorse
because
this
idea.
We
think because we studied in English medium coming from India, we know we can write and our language is good, but there's a little finesse to it. The style of writing is so different where you go. So depending on the audience, depending on the host, who you're writing for, what you're writing for, the language has to be so different. And you will know only when you take a writing course.
Yeah.
What the difference is. And you talk to your friends, nobody's going to say your language sucks. Nobody's going to say that. You have to go to an unbiased person.
Right.
So how
if I may add in here,
yes,
if I may add in here, I found one course, I think it was either on edX or similar platform, Writing in the Sciences from Stanford University, to be really helpful. It's a very simple course, doable maybe in a day or two, and it really helps. For me, that's where I decided, okay, this is the career I can take as a scientific and medical writer. I can do it, because I wasn't sure till then if my English was pretty decent, but like what Raghu and Abhinav said, whether it translates to be able to communicate science to varied audiences, that course made me decide whether I'll be able to do that or not. And for me, I took the decision to do it, but maybe you can take the course and see, because it has lots of exercises which lets you ponder deep into whether you are able to communicate science or not.
Yeah, and my question would be, how expensive are this?
That one wasn't, I mean, you can always just audit the course. You don't have to pay anything.
Okay.
And if you credit the course, it's hardly $50.
Oh, okay. So yeah, and about the sci writing, so we can always send whatever if I wish to write something, can I send just directly to the editor of the sci writing? Because I have seen some of the blogs coming up. So how it is being assessed?
I'm sending the email address to you, so you can just send your write up. To us, and we'll communicate from there.
Thank you.
The general comment I'd like to make is for people who are interested in writing as a career, please look at your LinkedIn profiles. That is going to be your first certificate, right? People, when you say I want to write, first thing they'll do is go to your LinkedIn profile, see your resume, and see how many mistakes can I find in that. They're not going to look at your background. They're looking at how many mistakes can I find there. And I did find a couple typos in some of your panels here. I'm sure even mine has it. But so please feed off of each other and
It's not peer reviewed. It's not peer
exactly.
reviewed, so it should be peer reviewed.
It should, because that's your face
There's
to the
a friend,
audience,
yeah,
right?
yeah, with the face to
It's
the
like going to
audience.
an interview without going to
Yeah,
an interview.
I agree,
yeah,
and that's the burden of truth is on you. You have to actually seek out peer review here. Raghu is doing it voluntarily for all of us, but when you are at in the middle of a job search, you don't want those bloopers in your profile. Please
yeah.
avoid
Thank you.
that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we do appreciate. Yeah. Okay.
And Vinita, just another mom thing. I would
Yeah.
just, go out with my baby and seek out people in the neighborhood. And you never know, like I've met many professionals in my mom's group who are also trying to transition. And
Okay.
that's also like a nice thing to do with a peer who's also in the same position and just talk about your situation.
Yeah, I know, I understand, but right now, I mean, I am in such a country where my kind of people is not at all visible.
Oh,
So I'm from Kuwait right now. So
right.
yeah, so
So, I
so
mean,
Yeah,
whatever
if there
is
are Indian
everything is
moms
virtual.
no,
okay,
but reach
yeah,
out
if there are
to
Indian
many
moms
people in the
sorry.
STEM peers. No, there are
Yeah,
so many of
yeah.
us. So
So
reach out to
everything
any
had
of
to be
us.
done. Yes, everything that need to be done through internet. So that is
Yeah,
the thing.
and I would like to
Currently,
add,
everyone
yeah,
is on internet.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
currently, and with
ev-
two kids, it's really difficult when we start to gear up. Two people, I have two, one, 3, another 11. 11 is fine. 3 is, oh my God, all of the time jumping on the laptop. So it becomes, I know those who are having kids, they can understand. So yeah, so that is the problem. So thank you for your suggestion.
yeah,
I'll try.
and I would also like to add one more thing. If
Yeah,
you, as you proceed in taking these courses, try to showcase these examples that you learned that in your writing. Now,
yeah,
when you will write to us, of course, we will try to take care of your article and try to use the best illustrators we have.
yeah,
But at the same time, uh, once we publish the article, the article is actually meant for your benefit. Or the prime importance is your benefit. So how good you sell yourself on the internet regarding your skills, that is important.
yeah,
That was one of the
yeah.
reasons we have a 15,000 strong community in Facebook. You
Okay.
write, we polish it, we make it, help you make it marketable, and then you showcase the story not only to the 15,000 strong people in STEM peers,
Yeah,
but also in LinkedIn. Try to sell your
yeah.
story. What
Okay.
we are trying to help you get is visibility, especially when you are
Yeah,
after
that's
coming from a break.
yeah,
Nobody remembers you or knows you just what you did before the break. But if you are
yeah,
trying to develop a new skill and want to be getting recognized for it, you need
yeah,
to be your own champion here. So go full out, show the world the new skill that you have learned and what you are doing with it, so that recruiters also get to see it. If the recruiters
yeah,
see it, you get the job.
yeah, yeah. So last 3 years with the kids, I only did. I before that I used to scribble. So whatever I did, I just did doodling and whatever, this kind of thing. Writing thing is little less, so I have to work on it. Otherwise, it looks incomplete to me. So
Navanita, I just want to add in the last is that take it easy. I mean, start with little, like, it is difficult as you're saying, and I cannot even understand because I don't have kids yet. But just make a little goal and make deadlines, like maybe in this month, I will try to achieve this much. And then, slowly you will build up your confidence. And I think this way you can, proceed.
yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
The other
Maybe,
thing is, tell others what you're trying to do.
Mhm.
Just announce it to your friends, close friends, and they will keep
Yeah.
check on you. They'll say, "Did you write something yet? Did you write something yet?" So the
Actually,
pressure is on you.
similar. Yeah, similar thing happened. One of my friends, she's also from TIFR. She actually has a Bengali blog site. So she was behind me for writing on this COVID thing. So I wrote 2 articles in Bengali. So now she's behind me on something. Okay, write it down, write it down. So I
So
have to
here's a
give
good
that.
thing, right?
Yeah,
Here's a
today
good
I'm
thing I've
finishing up
seen.
the thing. So
Suggestion for you is when
yeah.
she writes something in Bengali, do a good translation of that in English, because you want to succeed in English writing.
So
Do a
then I was
translation
thinking, yeah,
parallel profile or
actually
a
I
blog
was
site of hers
translating.
and say, here's the English version.
Yeah, actually what I was doing, kind of, we have we are thinking in English, the scientific thing. Okay. So most of the time I have to go to Google Translation and just to look for the words I'm looking for. So something like that. So, okay, I will just make a point that I will translate in English again and keep that ready for this. So, thank you, Raghu. Yeah.
Thank you, Navanita, for asking this question.
Okay.
Our next question is from Tanvi.
So should I shut off this mute?
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Tanvi, and I just had a few questions regarding. What I will do is I'll just go with the questions first. The problem with me is that I'm located at a very unusual place. It's Kathmandu, and it's been almost about to be 4 years now. And it was a choice for us to transition here because my husband wanted to work in development sector, whatever. So, and then we decided that, okay, this is a good time for me to plan a baby. And then we had a kid. She's now 3. And now we are planning on moving out. And I was hoping to, get back on track and maybe do some courses or just some remote jobs. But unfortunately, it was tough for me because one is the networking, which I could not do here, and the second is that it was, yeah, in terms of childcare it was a little tough because the location is that unusual. So yeah, I couldn't do much. Just recently I'd started with a job which is nothing to do with science, but it was good for me because I started writing and again thinking in English, which had stopped. So I was writing for a very small wedding company about the ceremonies, so it was initially good, and I'm still doing that. But yeah, it's of course I don't want to do it for life. I just want to start with something, so I've taken this up. But yeah, that is what I wanted to know, that how can I network staying in Kathmandu. And yeah, so please, if anyone could pitch in, it will be great. Thank you.
You're in a
If I
digital
may answer
world.
this, yeah, exactly. I would say because since I freelance and I work from home, all my connections are through LinkedIn. My work comes through LinkedIn. The people I meet are through LinkedIn. Everything is through LinkedIn. So I would say just have a really good profile. Open it up to recruiters in case you are open to working remote. Open it to recruiters. Take up the one month free trial and see if it helps you. Yeah, and I would say just connect with people, message them, ask genuine questions. Then people are ready to help. When they see that you're putting an effort, people are ready to help.
Okay.
So I would say just polish up your LinkedIn profile and connect with people there.
Okay.
And also Tanvi, also see what you like to do, like which field you want to go. Maybe make a better plan, search about it, connect with the people who are in the different profiles, and talk to them and talk about their work profile and how they manage their family with their work, and see what fits well with your conditions, because if you don't want to travel, you want to stay in Kathmandu, so what kind of jobs you can do remotely, and this way you can slowly build up the network.
Yeah.
Priyanka, I think one of the problems for a lot of people is, right? So we as people on this panel who are networking gurus tell people, oh, just reach out to people and talk to them and stuff. How do you do it is the important part. So that is the question
Exactly.
they don't
That
know
is what
to
my
ask,
question was going
right?
to be.
A lot of people
Yeah.
don't ask
Yeah.
that question. So here's a strategy. I recently sat in one of those things, and I've been doing it for a while. For me, networking is the life of my job, my background, right? Because I'm in business development, sales, I need to just talk to strangers all the time. So first thing is start with a positive attitude, right? You said, oh, how do I network? I can't network from Kathmandu. No, Kathmandu is Kathmandu. You're kind of a screen, right? Like everybody else.
Yeah.
So start positive, saying, wow, the world is in front of me. Let me see who I want to connect with.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you want to make a subset of who you want to connect with. So how many connections do you have on your LinkedIn, Tanvi?
I have around, I guess, 400 or something.
Out of 400, who are your real first connections?
Sorry.
Like people you reached out to and you know personally, and if you pick up the phone, they talk to you. How many?
Uh,
Because I have
honestly,
3,000 people, I can talk to maybe
yeah.
300 people.
Yeah. Honestly, the answer would be none, really.
Okay, see?
Tanvi, really.
So
Yeah.
no, I agree. That is how most of it is. And
Yeah.
I happen to be networking so much that I can actually reach out to, and maybe I'll get a response immediately with maybe 300, 400, 500 people. But
Yeah.
it takes a lot of work. So the strategy is to get to that level, right? How do you
Mm.
get to that level? Who are people you're comfortable talking to? People you have communicated multiple times in
Yeah.
recent times. They
Mm.
say to be recognized in a field or recognized in a conference, you have to attend the same conference 4 to 5 times to be even recognized by somebody. The same
Mm.
exact conference. To be recognized for a field, particular field, as your expertise, you have to be in that field for 10 years.
Yeah.
So nothing is going to come out of the blue, right?
Mm. Mm.
So I would say first make a small list of 10, 20 people in your LinkedIn people that you have at least this much faith in, right?
Okay.
You're
Okay.
like, okay, you're not connected with me yet, right? Say, for
Mm.
example, let's say put Priyanka on the spot, connect with
Mm.
her. And she's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, she was a panel member. She's obligated. Hopefully she'll help me, right? Reach out to
Yeah.
her, connect with her on LinkedIn, say,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I saw X, Y, and Z on your LinkedIn profile as your
Mm-hmm.
first connections. Would it be possible for you to connect me with X, Y, and Z? And this is my reason, right?
Yeah.
If you're comfortable, please feel free to do it. If not, I appreciate your effort, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So make a list of people, short list of people you are comfortable asking,
Mm-hmm.
and then reach out to 3 people
Okay.
in a week, or if that's too many, in a month, 5 people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then from
Mm-hmm.
5 people, again, you start expanding. It's like a pyramid network, right?
Yeah.
Pyramid
Yeah.
scheme, you've heard of that? Networking is pretty much pyramid scheme.
Mm. Mm.
And then when you reach out, like Archana said, it has to make sense. Why are you reaching out? You're not asking faltu questions, right? You're not
Yeah.
asking, you are trying to connect for a reason, with a reason, and then it'll actually move along. And you'd be surprised within 2 months, you'll have actually expanded your network with people who you're actually having a conversation. The other way is, if you know a topic of interest on LinkedIn, make a comment and engage in a conversation. Post
Okay.
often on it, and then
Mm-hmm.
people will engage with you. I've
Okay.
seen recently there's this person, Janani Kumar. I think she had signed on earlier and she's not here right now. I saw there was a wave of her activity on LinkedIn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden, she's posting almost every day 1 or 2 posts, and she's getting so many responses, and people are responding to her, and she makes a comment on a response. So that's when you're having activity, and that's when you
Yeah.
get noticed as a
Mm.
person,
Yeah.
and your networking person. So I'll
Mm.
stop with that.
And
Those
I
are
want
some
to add
tips.
here something
Yeah.
like networking is not really connecting with somebody. Like
Mm-hmm.
connection is easy part. I think you can send a message, and if you write send any message like, I don't know you, but I really like your profile. I really like your, your career track or whatever, and I would like to know more about your job profile. Can I connect with you? I'm telling you, you have 50% to, quite a good chance if you were writing even a small message that they will connect with you. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the people stop there. They never send a message back. So you need to, kind of keep this conversation going. And it's a difficult thing because sometimes you write, how are you or whatever, and then it never translates, the other person never replies. It's okay. You have to keep trying. Send a happy birthday or, a happy new year message. Sometimes, on some point that person will have some time and will reply to you, and that will start a conversation. And don't feel too negative about if somebody doesn't reply,
Yeah.
because if you contact 10 people, try to start conversation with 10 people, it's possible in the end you will have one good contact in the end. But I think
Yeah.
that's worth already, It takes a lot of energy, and networking is really not just connect with somebody on LinkedIn, but having a conversation and move forward with that relation.
Priyanka, if I may add here, Tanvi, in general, what is the general rule, or not the rule, but one of the ways of networking is like meeting people in conferences, right? And now, since we are all in lockdown, there are so many virtual conferences coming up. I know that Eurosteam Peers is going to be virtual in May. So I think that's one of the very great places where you can come up and network with people. That is a very small subset. It will not be too many people. I think Mayur will be able to tell more details about it, but this is one place where there will, at least I have attended the previous one, and there I had very good interactions, and I came to know so many people about what type of different careers they are doing. So it is in one way, it's also even if you don't have the conference in your domain of interest, but it is still good to hear what people are saying or to know. So,
I agree. I mean, this is a great year to start networking online. It's a great year to start networking online, because this year you have a full reason why not to do physical content. You're not having any physical meetings. So you're attending everything online. Tanvi, that's maybe a homework for you, that after this meeting, you connect with everybody, whoever is joining today. And I think it's already a good start.
Priyanka, may I add something to it?
Yeah, maybe, please.
So, Tanvi, just coming back to the point that Abhinav made earlier about strategy, I think it is a realistic goal, and what Raghu also added, to make it a bit more realistic. So think about, where do you want to see yourself in a year from now, approximately, and make it a realistic goal, and rather not a goal that's all above the head. And if things are going in order, make sure that you have milestones to check if you are moving right on the track. And I'm sure if you are achieving those milestones in order, you will reach out to that goal within a year or 6 months, whatever you plan, which is suitable for yourself. And the second point, the Eurostem peers, thanks Ishita for bringing that out. I think it is coming up pretty well. The planning is really smooth, and it's for the first time we are going to do it online. So we are a bit anxious about that, because we have never done that. But I'm sure with the team currently, we'll manage it out pretty well. It's on May 16th, in case you want to join. So,
sure. I'll keep it in mind.
Great.
Add one more thing to it, what Mayur said. Since Tanvi, you're going back to Nice, France, did you say that you're going back there in a year?
No, I'm not. I said that we are hoping to move out of. No, I was just saying that I want to move out of Kathmandu in a year's time.
Where?
And we are hoping to go back to Europe or UK.
Okay. So the point I was trying to make is, because you kind of know your destination, target your networking in that direction, right? And target that in terms of where you might want to land. Highlight Institute 1, Institute 2, or Company 1, Company 2, Country 1, Country 2, right? And then target it. It's not a bad thing to do it. Be selective, right? In the beginning, because it is like I said, you want to have realistic goals. Just networking with 100 or 300 people in US may not be the best option or use of time for you. But at the same time, if you focus the same energy in Europe, maybe that might be a better focus. It's not that it's useless connecting with people in US. We might know many people in Europe and connect you, or people are always moving, right? It's not a waste, but I'd say make it more targeted and strategic.
And adding to that point that Raghu and Mayur alluded to, when you start this exercise, you might start with a few number of people to connect with, maybe in a week or a month. But as you go further into it, you will find that it is a very helpful interaction that you're developing. So your database will go stronger and stronger. So how do you strategize this interaction? In this case, I would suggest use a simple tool of Google Sheets or Excel. Make a list of people whom you are interacting with. Make sure you put the date of what you discussed on that date, and when maybe you have already scheduled a next call, or maybe after a month say that I was following up on this and that which we discussed, would you like to answer some of the questions that I have, and schedule that next call and put it on your Excel sheet. So you have a kind of database of your own of how you have interacted with somebody, what is their profile, and where their company is heading. Maybe in future you can get into their circles where they can connect you with more of their collaborators in UK. Maybe somebody is in US, like Raghu mentioned, but they might have some plant coming up, or a future plan of something, some business developing in UK. So they can feed you with that information, but that will only happen if you have a regular interaction happening on a day-to-day or a month-to-month basis. So try to have that organized approach. Use Microsoft Excel to keep your network active.
Okay.
I'd like to add something to this. Just something that I think Mayur mentioned. You mentioned keeping track of milestones, and I was wondering if we could set up a sort of accountability partner network type thing in STEM peers. That's something STEM peers could do. Like from within STEM peers, you say, okay, this is the person that is going to be my accountability partner. The same way that we say, okay, we're going to run together every Wednesday or something. We could maybe have a thing where we say, okay, I'm going to report to you how many LinkedIn contacts I've had, and then there's one person that holds you accountable and you hold them accountable back. That could be something that we could, I don't know.
Maybe Archana can tell about it more. Archana had a group like this. No, Archana.
Oh, that's great.
We cannot hear you, Archana.
Hello, can I add in something here? Yeah, this is what I wanted to ask next, that it would be good,
Hello,
right?
can you hear me?
Maybe. Okay, go on, Archana. Yeah.
Maybe you finish, Tanvi, your question, and then we can go to Archana.
No, let's see what she has to say, because I think it's similar to what I was going to ask.
Okay. So, Archana, you want to say something?
Guys, Tanvi can read minds.
No. I know what kind of group Priyanka is talking about. I know her from Nice.
Yeah, we did PhD actually at the same place.
Same institute, yeah.
So, Archana, can you hear us?
There's some problem.
I think there's some audio problem with Archana. Okay, maybe you can move to your next question, and whenever we'll connect with her, I'll send her a message.
Okay, so I'll leave this group question right now, so we'll wait for Archana. I just wanted to ask how to define this particular gap on the CV to not sound negative, or I mean, I don't know, should I say that it's a maternity break, or should I not say it's a maternity break? So
it's going to be tough to justify a 3-year maternity break.
Yeah.
Right. So don't say anything, just leave it as a break, and take the opportunity to explain to people when they get in contact. That might be one way of looking at it. But the other thing is, you can't control who responds to you or not by leaving a gap and them assuming that they don't want to talk to you because you have a gap and you may not be ready. But I'd say if you're preparing or learning any of the courses like Archana suggested, right? Yeah. So I'd say start putting them on your profile, on your LinkedIn profile. Show some activity, learning activity, getting involved with Club Sairai, or things like that, reading up on certain skill sets. I'd say start listing those as a gap. You can, I see some people putting their title as an independent consultant, freelance consultant, right? You can just put that title in there and describe it in bullet points, what activities they're doing to keep up to date on skill sets, skill building.
Just adding something in here. So I don't know if you're interested in scientific writing or editing, but you can review for journals and start to seek that out. Maybe one of the things that you might focus your strategy when you're reaching out to people. I did write to editors of journals and maybe some editors that my friends also knew to seek out editing opportunities in my field, reviewing as well. And actually, I have another question on Tanvi's lines, like to focus your job search strategy. How do you seek out for remote jobs particularly? Usually most, like if I turn on my recruiter key, I'll have like other people who are looking for, bench scientist kind of roles, which is what I do. So how do you focus your strategy towards seeking out remote jobs?
Tell all the recruiters you're looking for a remote job. First thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In your description, say prefer remote opportunities, right? For the
Yeah,
time being,
there
for the
is an
time
option
being.
there.
Yeah.
I think on
And
LinkedIn there is an option.
yeah. So qualify it. Say it's for the time being. In the next couple years, I would like to try this out. And then I think it'll be a more targeted response from the other side. Because there's no point in hiding things till the end and wasting everybody's time, right? Just put it out there. And I'm sure there is something for everybody.
There are
This
specific,
is where
yeah, just
this is where I find that instead of recruiters connecting with people who work in company and like adding value, what Raghu discussed before works better. Then you are the person you're interacting with already knows your situation. They know how good you are in your work, so how good you can be in your remote role as well. So they are much willing. They are willing to give you the chance to be working remotely, right? That's how I transitioned to being a regulatory consultant. That I just built up my network, and the person reached out by themselves. That okay, you were really keen, but we know your situation. You can only be remote, and yeah, it's working since the last 8 months that we are working together.
Archana, do you have something you're clicking while you're talking?
No, not at
Okay.
all.
It's a lot of clicking sound from your mic.
Okay.
Okay, just last point to adding to that, and then we'll move to the next question. I don't know about other countries, but for example, Germany, they are specific recruiting agency, and I'm sure it's same for all the other countries. Here it is gulp.de, for example. They have a lot of freelance related work, where remote work you can ask for. Again, it is also depending on your, when I was interested in consulting job and I moved from Canada to here, I did consulting work on pre-scouter, and that kind of build up, it didn't show as a gap on my CV, and I did 4 or 5 projects with them, and based on that, then I got my first consulting job. So I think you just have to start with somewhere. I think there are really lot of information online, and we can also write down in comments or somewhere in the end all the things we know, all the resources we know, and then we can see it. So
maybe since we have started this kind of conversation about various careers, maybe we could in the future have panel discussion on each career path or things like that, which will be much more focused, and then people can then ask relevant questions to that.
Sure, Archana, so in Stampiers, the meet we're going to have on 16th May, actually, this is also one of the issue we're going to talk about. But of course, we can have more panel discussion later on to, to just discuss about different lines, like career lines we can have. Okay, so next question is from Shipra. Shipra Mehra, would you like to ask, please?
Hi everyone, this is Shipra and I'm from Chicago. So little background about me. I did my PhD from India. It was PhD in molecular petomology from BITS Pilani. And after moving to US in 2011, I did a couple of months of voluntary work in a neuroscience lab. And then I did some postdoc work at UIC. And finally, I got fed up with the PI and started doing freelancing work, and that was the time I conceived, and then I naturally went to a maternity leave, and the next thing which happened was my visa, which got changed into an H4 visa, and since then I've been stuck. And I've been utilizing that time in doing lots of courses and looking for volunteer work and internship opportunities, but nothing really has stuck up. So I just wanted some help how to deal with this situation.
Maybe people in the US can talk about it more.
I
Raghu
can
or Abhinav.
start talking
Yes.
on it a little.
Mm-hmm.
So Shipra, I'm sort of in the same boat like you. After I was on a O1 visa in my last company, and now since I knew that I was going to take a break, a 3-4 months break, what I did was go on the H4 visa first, and I'm waiting to be able to start in the new company. So what I did in the meantime was, look at the career options, what I want to do, maybe make some changes. I was exploring other career opportunities like getting into project management, explore other career opportunities and talk to people in that field. I interviewed in the meantime. And it's nice if you can maybe get an offer and say that, I can get started when I get my visa, if that's a possibility. The other possibility that I will pursue after that is after a time being, well, if it's not working out, will you be willing to sponsor an O1 visa for me? Or the next H1B visa whenever that time comes. But in the meantime, take advantage of this time to network, find the right opportunity, and maybe find people who'll be convinced that you are a good fit. The other things that I have been thinking of doing is maybe, take a project management course, review some more articles, help out in organizing conferences and taking notes. And the other opportunity, like you're already aware, is volunteering in labs. Volunteering in companies is another thing to get some industry experience and then be absorbed in that same company eventually, perhaps, especially now because there is a hiring freeze in a lot of places. Maybe they'll be more willing to taking volunteers who are willing to reskill.
Yeah, I would like to add here about, especially if you're looking for clinical research projects to volunteer, this is the best time because there are so many COVID research volunteering experience requests that are coming up. I saw at least 3 such requests on CSG itself. People said that if you can volunteer your time as researcher for the COVID-19 pandemic. So I don't know what kind of internships you're looking for, whether it is a remote or whether you want to go on the front line and help. That depends
I'm
on
actually
what.
open for both right now, but looking at what the situation is remote, I can definitely work remotely. So yeah, so I would definitely love if we can just focus, let me know about some platforms where I can look for remote volunteering kind of work, which are like legit, because I did follow few of the platforms and nothing really came up.
Okay, sorry, I don't know about whether they were legit or not, but definitely when you fill in those Google forms which people are sending out, if they reach out to you, you will have an idea whether it is legit or not, because they will tell the medical center name or the organization name of the organization which is remotely handling the projects. You can do a little bit of background search, and then you may get to know. Other than this online way, you can also reach out to some of your friends who are working in medical centers. If you are not associated with one, that is one point. But if you are associated, definitely you can reach out to some of your PIs also. You can ask them if they know anybody who are willing to take up volunteers for clinical research projects. So there is a lot of data analysis that is going on, I am sure. And I'm not sure of your skills in data science, but if you are still trying to spend that time in your H4 before things get sorted out, I would say get yourself equipped. Maybe your skill set can get enhanced in this break, and you can showcase it for more advanced level volunteering opportunities, because people are required at this pandemic at various skill levels. And I'm sure you can contribute a lot.
I would say, adding to that, since you're in Chicago, there are so many research and clinical institutions and hospitals. I would say reach out to people there. There could be so many research coordinators, clinical trial coordinators, clinical research coordinators. Reach out to them and say, I'd be happy to help with any projects. since we're all working from home, and I'm sure you could use an extra pair of hands. I'll be happy to help. The other thing is going in person may not be allowed because they have liability. So they may not let you enter the lab unless you are qualified to, or you are cleared through the university or through the hospital. That's an issue. So I would say focus on trying to be remote at this point. And then if you know somebody in person personally, then they might let you come in and work. But otherwise, remote would be a best way. Local hospitals, and that's when you'd also know is it legit or not. You'll have a good connection. Focus where you are because there are opportunities where you are. And a lot of times being proactive and giving is helpful before asking for something, right? So I'd say that's a very good approach. Giving is more important than asking. You may say, oh, what can I give? I'm in a position where I need to take help, right? But there's so many things you can give. Mental support, positive support, identifying resources, just giving them these resources, right? Say people are looking for, this N95 masks or PPEs or something. Make a list of sources of all of those and send it to a local clinic and say, hey guys, if you're interested, I just pulled out this list, here it is. They'll say, who's the stranger sending me a list, right? So then you become and they want to respond to you and they say, oh, this is a resourceful person. Hey, I know you sent me a N95 mask, but can you locate where we can get a COVID testing kit maybe? Right? So you start building the connection and then you are coordinating a clinical research project sooner or later.
Yeah, I agree with Raghu on this because there are many ways you can hop onto this network. There are many non-profit societies who are trying to help and connect. So you need not always focus on a medical center for volunteering opportunity. You can also connect indirectly by coordinating that public health effort and getting the deliverables reach a medical center.
There's a real estate agent in my neighborhood who's actually taken that on full on. And believe it or not, in 5 weeks, she raised $50,000 and she supplied thousands of PPE material and thousands of food, packaged food for these healthcare workers. And she's like a star now. She's already shown up in all the local newspapers, on all the TVs. And quote unquote, she's doing clinical research project management. Right?
Yeah.
She's the real estate agent. So imagine what you can do, right? Think out of the box and jump in.
Thank you so
feel
much,
good.
guys.
It'll also make you feel good, and you're also expanding your network, and you're doing planning for your next step.
I want to add one more thing, just a little. It's a COVID-19 situation. So there's a crowdfightcovid19.org. It's like if you put yourself in the email list, they will send you every day like a task of distribution of task email, and they would be like a different task. It's all over the world. Scientists or whoever have some problem and they want an extra helping hand, they send you all the tasks, and then you can apply for one of those. So, I mean, if you think that, oh, this is the one thing which I can do, I have the relevant experience, or this is something I understand and I can help. So maybe you can try that.
What is that site called, Priyanka?
It's crowdfightcovid19.org.
COVID-19.
I actually enrolled for that one, and so they send me every day. Yeah, I will write it down.
I just typed it in there. So.
Yeah. And their email is the same. It's contact@crowdfightcovid19.org. So maybe you can just start with that, and maybe you can see where you can help.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking this question. Next question is from Maria.
Hi. Hi, my name is Maria, and I'm currently in Bangalore. So just a little about myself. I did my PhD in biological sciences in the UK. This was quite a while ago. I graduated in 2008. And then I did a postdoc at the University of South Carolina for about 2 years. And then I did another postdoc in Italy for about 2 years. And after that, I've had pretty much like a long career break due to various reasons, because I traveled back to India because my father was ill. And, I was not very keen on research at that time because just various reasons. And then I got married, I moved back to the US, and I couldn't work. So meanwhile, during that gap years, I did a fully fledged PG diploma on teaching, because I thought probably that would be like a good way to kind of use my skill set or use the knowledge that I have. But I kind of realized that although I've done this in teaching, I still kind of like research, and like a lot of thinking went into this. And I'm particularly interested in gut microbiome research, because that is what I did during my PhD. And ever since, it has evolved a lot from what I did like 10 years ago to what is being done. And I've lost track of the science, like a lot of genomic approach and all that is happening currently. So I did have a couple of interviews, and in all the interviews that I attended, most of them were like, do you have programming skills, or do you know a little bit of data science and things like that. So I finally made this plunge to kind of invest my time and effort into kind of like a good data science course, and I am currently pursuing a data science course in Bangalore itself. And the teaching like command lines like Linux and R, and not yet advanced into Python and things like that. But whereas my question now here is, whichever interviews I have attended, or I'm in touch with people on LinkedIn, a couple of people on this gut microbiome research, I tell them, let's see, I've gone back and I've learned these data skills, like like Motur or Kime, or whatever these packages. So do you think there is an opportunity for me in your lab or your group? There's something that I can work with you, like an intern or something like that. And then they say, the reply I get is, see, it is not enough for you to learn these techniques, but it's more important for you to kind of solve these problems, to kind of work with data, or to have projects under your belt. The thing is, my question is, how do I find these projects or these live projects, or to find a mentor who can kind of nurture me in this field. um, and talking about realistic goals, as part of this meeting, uh, in future, what I'd like to kind of do is, I have my eyes set on a fellowship, which is in the UK, and specifically for people who had a break in research. So, in order to apply for that fellowship, I need to have a very good proposal, like a research proposal. So my thing is, to be honest, I'm a little apprehensive of to even start. Like, there is so much that has been done over the couple of years, and how do I even start? And I just don't want it to be like a random shoot in the dark, like, but to have like a focused, a proposal that we are solving something, like a real problem, and which could kind of increase my chances of getting this fellowship. And another question, what I'd like to ask is, see, a lot of these people whom I connect to on LinkedIn, send me invites to, like, come to these conferences, you can meet people there, blah, blah, blah. But, having, said that I'm here, just a question, like, do you think it's worth the effort, time and money, or to travel to a conference, say in the US, or, somewhere in UK, where, I can meet these people who are like, all these top researchers in this gut microbiome, so I can kind of put a face to the name and talk to them. Do you think it's worth the effort? So this is what I have to ask.
That's a lot of questions. I'd like to take a stab at it. Maria, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
We've been connected for a little while.
Yeah.
So a couple of things I want to mention is, right, so first thing you said was you'd like to have a mentor who can nurture you and help you through the stuff. So the first thing I tell people is, when you're looking for a mentor, you say, hey, Mayur, can you be my mentor? Mayur is going to take 2 steps back.
Okay.
Right? Because it's a moral responsibility you're putting on their head, and you're washing your hands off. Right?
Okay.
You build the mentorship. with them, right? Without telling them that you are mentoring me, they become your mentor, right? So that is my first tip to you, right? Because nobody wants to take responsibility for your failure, right? If I'm mentoring you as a quote unquote mentor and you don't achieve it, it's my failure. So you give them that opportunity to not take that weight on their shoulder by saying, you can ask them for advice, you can talk to them, you can ask them questions. You're getting mentored, but they're not a quote unquote mentor, right? It's like looking at God and saying, God, right? But you're asking everything's happening, but you don't have to really say that and put that weight on their shoulder. Second part, starting a proposal. You had issues with that. So do you know how to swim?
Sorry?
Do you know how to swim?
Yes.
Did you learn swimming without going in the water?
No.
Oh, you had to jump in the water, right?
Yeah.
So start with a proposal. It can be crap. It's okay. That's why you have this team, right? Build that network. Start somewhere. It can be random patches, and you have to start somewhere.
Right.
And give yourself that, tell yourself it's okay to fail, right? Initially, nobody's going to be successful in the beginning. Anybody who's gotten an NIH grant, or, you ask them how many attempts they did to get the grant, right? So everybody's going through that. Even a person who recently got a 10 million grant, they've gone through so many iterations. So it's not going to come up, right? So it's okay to know that, and you have to start somewhere, right? And I'm sure in this electronic digital world, if you just say example of XYZ proposal, you'll definitely get one, right? And then it'll, depending on how good or how bad or how relevant, you can just modify it. Third part, networking question. Is it worth going to US, UK? From India, I don't think it is worth it. In person, visiting, I don't think it is worth it. But if you can do something like this, it's great, right? So set up a time on the weekends, evenings. You have to be more flexible to the people in US, UK, because they're probably working daytime and it'll be night for you. You have to make that extra effort. So a few people, even now, I keep talking to them, and they say, when can I talk? I say it's maybe 3 o'clock afternoon, and I'll be like, oh, it's going to be midnight for you, and they're like, no, it's okay. I'll be awake and I'll talk to you. So they make that effort. So you have to make that extra effort. I know with kids and family, it's going to be difficult, but you can set an alarm for 10 minutes, 15 minutes before, and wake up, get ready, and then chat, and then go back to bed. So I'll stop with that. Others can pitch in.
Maybe I can add on to one of the comments that Raghu made. It looks like first Tanvi read someone's mind, and now Raghu is reading my mind. Because someone did approach me exactly asking if I would be a mentor to them, and I did take 2 steps back because it's a big responsibility. And what I told that person was, let's have a discussion, let's chat, and let's see how it progresses. And step by step, we are moving forward. I mean, the person is gathering more experience. The person is moving a bit further ahead in the transition. And I think this should be the way to approach it, not by asking them to be your mentor, but start with a discussion, start with a open-minded chat, and they might end up being your mentor.
Right, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I had something quickly to add in about the research proposal part of it. Maria, I was thinking if we actually start taking a dig at, writing a research proposal, like, for example, we were doing while joining a PhD, or some interviews now required, you'll probably do a lit search in that. And another approach that I have taken is, when I came across papers in that field that I'm interested in and building up on, you can then start contacting those authors. At times, first authors are more responsive than last authors. And you can, make good connections that way in your exact field. And maybe start with something that you can chip in. Other ideas that you have thought about, or that you are willing to do to take that project forward. People always love it when you can apply their work.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So
I
want
sorry.
Wanted to just
Subhashini, you want to say something? Because it's already 6 o'clock. So,
Yes. Sorry. I
lot
just
of
wanted to
people.
mention to Maria that if you wanted to practice the skills that you're learning in your data science course, there are lots of websites like Kaggle that offer problems that you can just solve online. And you could maybe try putting that on your resume, saying, I solved these Kaggle problems using my data science skills that I learned. That was my suggestion.
Okay.
No,
There's
that's
another
a
one,
very good
Omnidata.
suggestion
Yeah.
because I think Subhashini took the point I was going to mention. But yeah, just adding to what I had to say was before we sign off, Subhashini, not Subhashini, Maria, there is another, a lot of companies offer returnships. I'm not sure if you have heard this word.
No.
If you have heard, then you might already be aware some of the multinational companies like Deloitte, JP Morgan have these returnships. And since you are more of a data-driven person, I think, as per your training, you can explore opportunities there also. So don't keep yourself limited to academia.
Okay.
See
So it's
where
called returnships, is it?
returnships.
It's called return to work programs or something like that.
Great.
Deloitte has one. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Abhinav.
Yeah. So just look for that, and you will find many opportunities for people coming back from the break. And I just wanted to share my screen for us, since a lot of you will be in future interviewing and judging the companies based on whether they will provide you the support you need as a working mom. I came across, just a minute, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So here is I came across 100 best companies in 2019, which showcases how the employees rated these companies as per the requirement of representation, parental leave, family support, advancement in careers, and flexibility. So these are some of the points you should keep in mind when you are going for your next job application, or you're in advanced stages of discussion with the companies, or even when you are holding informational interviews, because these, I'm not talking about the list of companies here, but I'm talking about the x-axis here. They show the kind of questions they ask for before they see that whether this company is working mom friendly. So like minimum number of weeks for fully paid paternity leave and fully paid adoption leave. There are a lot of points that these guys have highlighted in this survey. I'll share the link with you in this chat, and maybe in future, if you have any specific questions, you can ask one of the panelists here, as well as I'll be happy to answer if you have any other questions, because my spouse currently is on job search, and these are some of the questions she makes sure that she asks in the advanced rounds of interview with the hiring manager to understand the company's philosophy in hiring. So I just wanted to mention this, and hopefully you find this useful.
Yeah, actually, on a similar note, my husband negotiated in his company while he was switching, so he gets extra paternity leave.
Yeah.
So these are really good determinants, actually, to take into consideration while you're doing a job search.
Yeah, try not to lead with these questions, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I would like to add that maybe if the people who are based out of Europe, these things are given to you by the government, so use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So use whatever is given to you for your partner as well, because the parental leave can be shared equally as well between partners. So you can decide all those things with your partner and try to focus on your career as well, if the need be. So use all those opportunities.
Thank you, everyone. Though it's already over 6, I would like to take another question from Sumita. Maybe you can ask now. Keep it short. That would be great.
Hey, thank you for including my last question. It's more about I will directly come to the question, not wasting the time. It's more about my career path, which I wanted to take. Actually, I've done my PhD in Sweden and then a postdoc. Then I had a kid and another kid. I planned to have but I didn't want to stop my career. So I was just applying for industry jobs and grants. And then I got an industry interview and a grant in both at the same time, and then I got the grant, and before the final industrial interview I thought, okay, now I have a grant that's of 5 years, and then I took it easy and I didn't get the job, and then I had a baby, and now I feel like I'm really not interested in the postdoc, this 5-year grant which I've got, but it's really a good grant, but I'm really not interested in doing it. And I have to join back in September, and I feel like I am forcing myself to do it because it's not my interest, but still it's a more easy going job with a kid. So I'm kind of in fix, like, okay, now I am applying for jobs, I get an interview, I tell them, okay, I have this permanent job, but yeah, I am messing up in the interviews because of this. I can clearly note it. So I'm kind of confused. I don't know how to solve this. Um, so any suggestion, like, okay, I know I'm really interested in industry job, and I have this fear as well, like, okay, after 5 years I will become useless because I am into academia, and then I already will have 7 years of research after my PhD in academia, and then I will become useless. I have all these confusion in my brain.
Yeah. My quick 2 cents for that. First, you have to decide in your mind what you really want to do. Do you really want to get out of your academic research, and do you really want to go into a company? Write down valid points. No, just listen to the feedback, right? And then I'll get your answers back because I'd forget my train of thought. So write down 3 to 5 points why you want to join a company, why you prefer this over that, right? Because everybody's going to ask you that question.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you have to convince yourself and everybody else. Convince your neighbor, convince your lab mate, convince your co-investigator, right? But you need to have a convincing answer to it. Second thing, when you're saying, I already have a job that I love or something, it depends on how you present that to the other person. They'll say, okay, she's talking so much about it and she likes it, I don't think she's going to come, and they might not even make you an offer. So you have to show them that you're really keen on making the transition and why you're making the transition. Right. And there's nothing wrong in telling it to them, because you're interviewing with them, and you want them to know what your strategy is and why you're doing it. Unless you're clear with yourself about it, it's going to be a very tough transition.
Okay, and what I was telling was, okay, everyone talks about, okay, what do we want? But I don't know, in US probably it's easy to get jobs, but in Europe, it's really, we have limited options till we get it. There is nothing in our hands. So we just have to apply for everything. And at that point, when I was applying for this grant, I probably didn't think I will get this grant. I mean, no one is sure. So I got this grant, and I am sure about this industry. It's the transition where I want to make, but it's just this job, this grant gives me the comfortableness of in the job. So
can you use the products of your research towards a grant company related project, or try to establish some collaborations with the company through that and get your first step in there?
That's what that is where I lack that knowledge. It doesn't work like that here. I don't know, because it's a new country for me. Like I got the grant from Sweden to move to Netherlands. It's a mobility grant. So I have moved to Netherlands, and then it's new to me here, and I'm not motivated enough to do the grant work, and I want to apply for the industry jobs, but I am stuck, like, between comfortableness and interest.
I just want.
I will. Okay.
Go ahead, Rachna.
I just want to add. None of us are in your shoes, so we don't know your visa situations and such as well. So some part of it will be answered through that, right? Because if your visa is dependent on your job, then you would
No,
have
it's
to
not
keep it.
dependent. It is not dependent on my job. There is nothing like, no visa problems, nothing. I have a residence and permanent residence and a citizen, a husband who is a citizen. So that's not a problem.
I think you have
All
already
right.
won half the battle there then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, I
exactly.
just want to add that don't get me wrong, I really did not like when you said that you are useless. So that kind of thinking that you have spent so many years in academia and then you become useless, you are not a piece of, I don't want to use the word TP, but don't treat yourself like that. A lot of, I know it seeks in that you don't
So
have the
TP is
experience.
gold right now. TP is gold.
Yep. Yeah, well, COVID is. So I would say that the wealth of experience you have had in academia is going to be very worthwhile. Even if you have won grants or you have been awarded grants, that is something that is a selling point for you, because it's something that you can really market yourself, saying that you can, if you have been able to generate money for your lab or academic lab, it is equivalent to generating money, capability of generating money for a company as well. There are many sizes of companies available in the world. Some companies depend on government grants. Some companies are not, because they have a lot of money. But if you target those kind of companies which can use your skill set of grant writing, definitely you can make a mark there. So you have to really focus your attention into those companies who can find your skill set valuable. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Just adding in a human aspect to this, I know we as women, I guess, doubt ourselves a little more. So I have doubted myself that, I left my postdoc too soon, and you're doubting yourself that you're in the postdoc for too long. So I guess these it really helps if you set up informational interview with people and talk through these doubts to really see what career path might be right for you. Just listen to people's stories and how their life is on a real level, I think helps relate. And lead with your I don't know if this is really good in recommendation in all situations, but what I have done is lead with the human aspect of it as well. I have said while interviewing in industries, because part of the reason why I want to transition is to have a family, is to have better work-life balance. And I've seen that my hiring managers understood what I was talking about, because she had done the same thing 2 years ago. So there is a possibility of making connections when you're honest in that way as well.
Okay. Yeah, and one additional point was, I sometimes feel I am applying for job and then I'm getting interviews, but it just like when I am into it, I'm not preparing enough. So is it like you think it might not be the correct time to go? Maybe I should near the end of the grant, then I should try more, or is it already too early to start with this? Because I feel so unmotivated in the job itself, like, oh, I'm already wasting my time. I feel like that, and then I apply for something and then I'm not preparing enough.
You're actually practicing your interviewing skill set if you do while you do this process.
Okay, so it's not probably something wrong, because I feel bad that I didn't get that job. I feel bad that I didn't get the job. It's been like 3-4 interviews, and then I feel, okay, I might not get job anytime in future. It feels like that.
It's normal to feel like that. It's normal to feel like that, and don't get bogged down, because the job search is a draining process. It's not that it just clicks. It takes time. Sometimes you don't know what went wrong in your on-site. Sometimes you did everything perfectly online, and on-site you messed it up. And probably sometimes you just lost out on a skill set that was missing from your closest competitor who got the job. So it is not always up to you. It is also depending on the requirement of the company. So don't blame yourself. Don't beat
And
yourself down.
and when there is some programs like future leaders, fresh management training, who ask for work experience, I don't have work experience, and like in industry, and I think I can apply for it. But what do you people suggest? Is it for
I think
people like about 30 years? Will they count the age, or what is it? Do you have any idea? Anyone has tried something like that?
I think
Maybe?
Raghu can answer it better. Age is just a number. It depends on how you spin your story.
Very
Because
good answer. I think it's a half, 80% of it is in the attitude and approach, right?
Okay.
So if you start with an attitude or approach saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to get this, I've been trying so hard, I've failed every time, you already reduced your chance of being successful by 50%, right? Start with a positive attitude, start with a positive approach, make a list of things you're grateful for, make a list of things you're good at and you've been successful at. Before you talk to someone, read that list out to yourself, right? Read it out loud and clear. Look yourself in the mirror and do that. You will start, you have to feel proud of yourself before you talk to somebody else. Otherwise, it is a very useless exercise you're doing. You need to boost yourself up. I've told this to many people on this platform. Have somebody on your quick dial that regards you, that adores you, that loves you, right?
Yeah.
Before any call,
Mm-hmm.
talk to that person for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Right? That is a very good energy booster. It's an ego booster. It makes you feel good. And then you take up your tasks. You'll actually start seeing yourself being more successful at it. This is a bigger picture philosophical answer to your question, but I think everything starts with your attitude.
Okay.
Yeah, and one thing I would like to add to what Raghu said, now this is very technical, where when you apply for a job, you look at the job description, and when the job description starts talking to you, like you read one point, okay, they need an experience in flow cytometry with so many analytes and whatever you have done. So if you think you can answer that question, if you think you can fill that gap in, oh, Shijuti has her baby here today. Welcome to the panel discussion. So if you see that your job description is talking to you, that is when you know that you can really provide something useful. There are many parts of the job description which you might be focusing or over focusing on that you don't have industry experience. But when you read the job description, you will realize that as a postdoc, you have really done all those points that they are looking for. So remember that when companies post a job online, they put everything they have in their mind in that basket. It doesn't mean that they're going to get that unicorn candidate coming from heaven or whatever that will fulfill all the requirements. It is not possible. But they just hedge their bets thinking that, okay, can we get an ideal candidate like that? But as a job seeker, you have to see how many boxes you can take of that job requirement. If you tick most of the boxes, you should apply for it. Don't hold yourself back. Don't feel bad that you cannot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there are many transferable skills between your postdocs and industry. Yes, you might not have had like direct project management skills, but you managed your project, you wrote a grant. All those are transferable skills. You mention those things
Extrapolate.
when you write. Yeah.
So my first job interview in my company, this was like maybe 112 years ago. They they asked me, so exactly what you said, Sumita. So you don't have company experience. How, we need somebody with experience. How do you start with experience? You can't start with experience. So you, like Archana said, you extrapolate, use what you have. I said, our lab had 20 postdocs. I worked with at least 4 of the other postdocs, collaborated in their labs. I was co-author on 4 papers. We had deadlines to meet. We had grants to write. We had regular lab meetings. We were held responsible for different things. You interpret your life. And I said, our lab was like a pipeline, like a manufacturing line of scientific projects. So you extrapolate, explain how your experience are transferable to what they're looking for and put it in their words. I think it's important to use the terminology they use when you talk to them so they understand it better and they can use it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe I can add one comment there. So this was right after you asked a question to Raghu Sumita, when he mentioned about being able to convince people. I think the first thing you need to do is convince yourself that you are right for the job, because until unless you are not able to do that, you will never be able to convince the next person. So work on that. I think everyone made a great point in terms of how you can do that. And the 10-minute discussion to a peer before you talk to someone works amazingly well. I've tried that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the input. Yeah, I will work on it.
Great.
Best of
So
luck.
Thank you.
So then let's wind up everything. Thank you so much, everyone, for their inputs. I think it was a really good discussion, and we did cover a lot of points. So if I write down together, so many things. First of all, plan well if you can, but life is not always go according to your plans. So it's okay if it does happen. It's also okay, and you can always take baby steps, just like your baby, to reach to your goals. Make realistic goals. Don't try to achieve too much. I mean, if you can achieve, that's great, but making realistic goals is great. Then you can also look for volunteer opportunities or some freelance opportunities. We discussed about it quite a lot of things. Stampier community also offers a lot of resources. Try to use them, try to connect with them, so you can build up your confidence, you can build up your network. And I think people are quite nice in Stampier, so you can connect with them and ask for help. Don't ask, be my mentor. Maybe ask like, can I have some suggestions from you, and what is your job, how's your life, and all these things. Start with the little discussions, and that's it. I mean, if you want to give more suggestion, please write us so that we can improve next time. And if you want to have more panel discussion like this to cover up, because I'm sure we missed many things, many topics today, so we can have this discussion continue in the next one. And Mayur, maybe you can, if you want to add some comments in there.
No, I mean, the idea how this particular panel discussion came up is pretty interesting, because the other day Priyanka and I were talking about certain topics, and then during the phone call, this discussion came up on how do mothers usually deal with situation on career breaks they have. And then we decided, I mean, we do have a lot of people with that kind of experience on STEM peers, and why not have them share their experience, share their stories, and this is how it came up. So thanks a lot again to everyone who agreed to be a panel member. This was fantastic. I think I have learned a lot about the career breaks or the struggles that you guys go through. And I'm sure we have recorded the video, so I'm sure a lot of people are going to follow it up and understand from your experiences and stories on how they can plan their stuff. And also thanks to all the participants for joining us for almost 2.5 hours, although it was supposed to be a 2-hour-long meeting. Thank you.
Thanks for organizing this.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you for the questions.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for the important
Everybody.
inputs. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.